I came in this morning and I was feeling very sad about the loss of a relationship, and I wanted to feel appreciation. And with that last interaction that you had, it was the opportunity for me to see that it was to connect with the feeling of what I wanted rather than the person that was over there.
All of that's true. All of that's true, but there's more. And that is, when you define a loss of a relationship, we have to say to you that there's the gaining of a relationship too. In other words, you can't lose anything without gaining its opposite, equivalent. When you feel like you've lost something, you've really gained something. But the reason it feels like loss to you is because you're not in the vibrational vicinity of what you've gained. Isn't that interesting? So there comes a time, and you're approaching it already, where you revel in your willingness to experience that loss, because in that loss there is the creation of a gain that when you rendezvous with it will be better than anything that you thought you had before you lost what you thought you lost.
I just got that, and what I experienced too was that it was the feeling that I have because I felt like as I was opening up to the feeling of love, I really wanted to feel...
Because you can't open up to the feeling of love and the feeling of loss at the same time, can you? You made a different choice and then found what you thought you'd lost times about 1,000,000.
Yeah, and that felt a lot better. And so I really got, like, what I wanted was to really love someone, like that feeling of
what you
loving.
really want is vibrational alignment with who you really are, which is love. And the someones are really just excuses you use for alignment. They're also the someones you use as excuses for not alignment. When they're there and behaving, you use them for the excuse for alignment. When they're gone and therefore misbehaving, you use them as your excuse for misalignment. But now you're so much wiser.
So then if I stay in that state where I'm love or appreciation, then...
Don't ask something so harsh as to stay in that state. Just say, I know that it exists and I can make my way to it. Usually takes a maximum of 10 minutes.
Okay.
Seriously.
Well,
it doesn't take more than about 10 minutes to talk yourself back into love once you get the hang of it.
So in those times where I'm having the step one moment and I'm reveling in the contrast.
Reveling, that's an interesting word. And the reason you rampaging in the contrast is because you get specific and it gets some pretty strong momentum going. But no worries. The stronger the momentum of what you don't want, the stronger the momentum of what you do want. It's just a matter of figuring out how to get in the direction of what you do want.
Okay.
And you do it by going general.
Okay.
So come back around to your question before we interrupted. So when I'm having that strong experience of really knowing what I don't want, what do I do? And what do you do?
Well, I have been feeling it.
We don't mean what have you been doing. We mean what do you plan to do now that you've heard the wisdom of this day?
Oh.
What do you do? What do you do when you feel strong negative emotion? What do you do? What is the resolution to that?
I reach for something that feels better to try to feel some relief.
And what is the overall explanation of that action? What is it? I'm going general. I'm softening the specifics deliberately. I'm deliberately choosing a more general way to look at this. Now, in the past, we have said to you sometimes, distract yourself. Distract yourself from it. But distraction is only a temporary solution. Going general can be a permanent solution, because as you go general often enough on enough things, you will find resonance with this feeling of well-being that will cause you to then walk around with this basis grid. And then the question that you asked earlier, how can I always be in a state of love, will be something that you're experiencing more of the time, more often in a state of love. because this experience caused me to go general, and this experience caused me to go general. This experience that I could not control caused me to go general because I couldn't control it. And if I wanted to feel good, I had to go general because I couldn't control it. This experience caused me to go general because I couldn't control it. I had no choice if I was to feel better than to go general. This one and this one and this one and this one, this person, this thought, this memory, this desire, this experience. I went general and general and general and general all day, every day for a week or two or three. I went general until I established a vibrational emotional grid that then began to carry me. And I began announcing, I'm feeling better more of the time. The world is looking beautiful to me again. I'm happy. I'm having more fun. And then once you begin acknowledging that emotional grid is more steady within you, then the things that begin to fill it in. We don't want you ever to be wary of anything that's contrasting in your experience. We don't want you to ever say, I always want to only be in the vortex, or I always want to only feel love. We want you to say, I know what to do. I'm the molder of the clay. I've come to experience the contrast, and it's benefiting me dramatically. And I know the direction that I'm going. I know what to do. I have guidance within me. It's always on target. I know exactly what to do. If it feels good, I'm more specific. If it doesn't feel so good, I go general, and it works every single time. And as you begin saying that and meaning that and knowing that, then you don't say, I always want to be in a state of love. You say, I really like some of the hateful things that happen to me that make me experience the value of love. And with these things that I don't like, I parlay what I do want into more heights, what I do like into more heights. And because I'm so clear of who I am and how I'm supposed to feel, I'm able to find conscious, deliberate resonance with that frequently, so that my life just keeps getting better and better. That's what you all said. That's why you all came. You didn't say, we'll go forth, feather our nest, we'll just go forth into a happy little environment and just observe it. You passionately came forth wanting variety to stimulate you to things that you don't have, because you knew that you could not stand in a state of not having for very long. You knew that there was nothing that this time-space reality could inspire as a desire within you that you couldn't achieve. And once you consciously get that and start moving toward it, that feeling of invincibility and that feeling of worthiness will become so powerfully. That's really what you're looking for. What you really want is that conscious awareness that no matter what, you can figure it out.
The process of Jerry's recent transition was interesting, but sometimes I think how when we go as widows or widowers into grief, and you have exemplified the method of what a person should do, and helped me along my process, because you were preparing yourself, obviously, but
What happens is it sort of jolts you into the awareness. Talk about an acceptance that you have to let go of the uncontrollable. And there is relief in accepting that while you cannot change a circumstance, you can change the way you feel in life. And there is no more powerful understanding than that. And it's a gift that everyone that you care about who makes a transition before you're ready for them to leave gives to you.
Right. When you said in one of the audios that I was listening to from Phoenix, how you felt that Jerry is bridging now for part of the Abraham infinite intelligence. It isn't
so much that Jerry from his non-physical perspective, or anyone from their non-physical perspective, is bridging. It's that your awareness of them causes the bridge. What Esther has discovered about this, she's been receiving non-physical communication for a very long time. So she knows what is required to find vibrational alignment with Abraham. And she knows what it feels like when whatever Abraham is flows through her. But because Abraham was not someone who was known to her, someone who had a personality that was defined, as Esther began and continues the translation process of Abraham, she had no choice other than to go by the feeling of it. In other words, Jerry said on a quite regular basis, it's interesting that we have no way of identifying who they are or where they are. We only know how they feel. And we only know by the benefit of what we receive and apply the value of our relationship with that. So now as Esther is receiving Jerry, and she is frequently, in fact, anytime she is asking for it, anytime she stops to quiet her mind, anytime she ponders something, she can get right into the vibration of that. And she wonders why she doesn't do it more often, and then she remembers she's doing it all the time if she will allow herself to do that. But the difference, the bridge that Jerry is making, is that Esther knows, because she knew Jerry when he was physically focused. She knows the things that he was intimately interested in. She knows the things that mattered to him most. So she can find those subjects and she can feel him blowing and flowing in a stronger way. In other words, she is able to accurately define the current existence of that man that she loved and that energy that she now still knows is continuing on. And there is no question in her mind when she tunes to that, the specifics of that being who has made his transition. Now that's a bridge worth making, because so often as you think about reemerging in the non-physical, you think you're just going to sort of morph into this big soup in the sky, and that your personality and that the deliberate things that you were interested in are no longer important or no longer accessible. And what Esther, the bridge that Jerry is making for Esther, is that she can still feel the focus of his beingness. She can still feel the things that he is most interested in. She was in Del Mar the other day and walking from the guest house up to the upper house. And as she was making the trek up the hill, she noticed that the neighbors across the way, who have some big Tory pine trees, who in some small ways, you may have heard Jerry's creative story earlier, where there was a big Tory pine tree down between them and the ocean that was blocking their view and a lot of other people's as well. And so he just kept thinking, wouldn't it be nice if that tree were not there? Wouldn't it be nice if... And one day, a limb on that tree just fell off and smashed a little bit of the house next door. So the tree was joyously removed, which opened up a whole new vista. And Jerry would stand up on that point and feel very exhilarated, because he knew that the power of his wanting, finding the emotional grit of it. He always said, I don't try to make things happen, and I don't really even ask for them. I just appreciate. He always felt that through his appreciation, his power came. So then Esther, playing with him about it, was looking over at these other trees and she says to Jerry about them, all right, you guys, do you want to do this the hard way or the easy way? Just playing with the idea of it. So the other day, Esther is sitting on the porch up at the upper house looking down, and she's realizing that so much of that is growing in that there's a large part of her view that now is obstructed by the lower branches on these trees. And as she is walking out of the house, she noticed that there were several men up in those trees doing what they call lacing them out. Now, it isn't a thought that Esther had, and it wasn't a desire that she had set in motion, really. It wasn't something that she planned to do. She didn't put it on her things to do today list. She didn't think about approaching the neighbors, and she didn't even put it on the universe's side of the placemat. In other words, it was just something that she observed, and the next day there is someone up there, and the exhilaration that she felt, she knew was not her own. She knew the exhilaration that she was feeling as she observed that was the exhilaration that Jerry was feeling as he continues his pruning process from his new vantage point. You see what we're getting at? In other words, there is no ending to that which you are. And when you consciously acknowledge that, that's the bridge that we're talking about. The other day, Esther and her two wonderful sisters made a decision to go to a movie. And Esther said, this one should be safe. It was the one about Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady. It won't be a minefield, Esther said, because it would be about politics and it would be about history. But it wasn't. It was about a widow. It was about her dead husband who is haunting her. It was about... Esther said, what are the odds? And we said 100%. 100%.
Absolutely.
So as she is watching the movie and enjoying it mostly, she felt frustration with the portrayal of the necessity for this woman, in order to not be considered
Frail.
crazy, to release him. The psychiatrist was worried about her, and at the end of the movie, she let him go. She shooed him off. And Esther said, how stupid is that? Because the bridge that Jerry is making for Esther is the bridge of eternal life and the bridge of eternal relationship. and the bridge of never-endedness, and the understanding of how intricately involved everyone who is non-physical still is. You wonder why your Earth continues to spin in its orbit in perfect proximity with other planets? You can't possibly think that it's only about the intentionality of those of you who are standing around on this planet, and hardly a one of you ever thinking about that.